Alright, some of you asked me how I constructed my Lightning Strike Transcendence Armour Stacker build and why it's so good. So I thought I'd make a little bit of a video explaining how everything works. I'll have to excuse the audio a little bit. The microphone I'm using is kind of weird, so there probably is some weird thing going on with the EQ. But that said, hope the audio is clear enough for you guys to hear how my thought process was and why the build turned out the way it did. So if we start by looking at the POE here, you can see that the damage is pretty good. The energy shield looks horrible, like what the hell, 4,000, it's not a lot. The resistances are not capped at 90% using the purities and all that. So what's good about this build really? Well, this build is an armor stacker, and the armor you see here is actually not the correct value because divergent determination is not in POB yet. So this armor that you're seeing here is just a portion of the overall end armor in the end game stage. Now, this build is constructed as a Scion aura stacker that is using the Guardian Ascendancy for phys damage mitigation, as well as the Necromancer Ascendancy for the attack speed. And we are stacking a bunch of aura effect jewels, and I'll show you those in a second. But the main thing about this build is that it's using Transcendence, and Transcendence has, surged in popularity recently. What it does is basically it converts your armor so that it works on your elemental hits or elemental damage taken, but it does not work for your physical damage taken, and that's why we're taking the Guardian Ascendancy, which allows us to mitigate for the physical damage instead using the aura effects from the cluster jewels, because that's how it works. So if we look at the calculation tab here really quickly, if you look here at the damage taken, you can see that our elemental resistances or elemental EHP for maximum hit taken is rather reasonable for elemental. For physical is only 44,000, and that could actually be pushed a lot higher into 70 or 80k if you wanted to, but I've opted to play around a little bit with the build just for the sake of trying out different things. That's why it's kind of only at 44,000 right now, which by itself is amazingly good if you compare to any other standard or regular build. But for an aura stacker, this could get a lot better. I don't think it's that important to have it any more than what it is unless you're going deep delving. That said, let me just show you around a little bit how this is constructed. So we're stacking armor. The armor is converted into damage using replica dream feathers. A lot of people are using those these days because it says 1% increase attack damage per 450 armor. We have a bunch of armor, therefore we get a lot of increased attack damage. And that's how you scale your damage. Where you get your armor from? Well, you stack up a bunch of evasion and you use iron reflexes to convert that into armor. And the way we're doing it is as follows. We have a bunch from flasks, from grays and cluster jewels and the like. And we're also getting a ton more by using the perfect form body armor, which says evasion rating is increased by uncapped cold resistance, and we're stacking up a bunch of cold res. This, in my opinion, is the right way to scale evasion for armor stacking. As you can see, I am using a perfect form. And I'm not using the Inferno helmet, for example, because Alpha Howl is so good. It gives you, freeze immunity, mono reservation, and all that kind of good stuff. Additionally, all our flasks have stuff like, 3,000 evasion rating, 96% increased armor during flash effect. Let's see here, increased evasion rating during flash effect with a bunch of physical mitigation. So all these things come together to create a build that is actually really, really tanky in spite of the low energy shield, because our EHP becomes super good. Our defenses are, amazing. I barely die. I never die, actually. I haven't played for the past couple weeks, so when I run you through a map just in a couple seconds from now, just please keep that in mind. I haven't played for a couple of weeks and I'm done with the league, but some of you asked for an explanation, so I'm sort of recording this on the fly. But you'll see how tanky the build is in spite of the low energy shield due to these mechanics stacking up with each other. Additionally, we have elemental ailment avoidance, especially ignite is the only annoying one, and bleed. And as long as we deal with those, we're fine. The way we're stacking damage is additional to the replica Dream Feather. Because we're an aura stacker, we are running a bunch of auras. And if we look at the cluster here, we're using Lightning Strike, which is a lightning skill. Therefore, we stack up a bunch of pen, and we use regular aura effect jewels with Stalwart Commander. My character is actually called Stalwart Stacker because the primary goal of this build is to stack up as many Stalwarts as you possibly can. All the other notables are notables that will allow you to reduce mana reservation in order to be able to add more auras. We're running, the reason we're doing it this way, going down this pathing rather than taking this pathing as a regular aura stacker, is because we want the iron reflexes, obviously. But also going a regular aura stacker does not provide us with much, because if we're gonna go voices here as an example, we lose all these nodes which are super good, and it's also a lot cheaper to do. So if you grab these three nodes, you get your CI, your mana reservation, your Zealot's Oath for converting that into energy shield regen instead of life regen. You stack up a bunch of Pure Guile to reduce the reservation of Purity of Ice. You have Sublime Form to reduce the reservation of Grace, etc., etc. You end up with something along the lines of this. Basically, you run a bunch of auras. They're all reduced in cost, and each one of these auras provide you physical damage mitigation due to the Guardian Ascendancy, and also attack and cast speed due to the Necromancer Ascendancy. So our physical mitigation is right now 87%. You can get that to 90 easily if you wanted to. Again, I'm playing around a little bit, so not everything is set up correctly, but this is basically what you should be aiming for, roughly speaking. Let's see, is there anything else I'd like? We have a lot of ES on head coming from our boots, which are amazing. I love these Venomous. So I recommend them highly. Hands of the High Templar to shove a bunch of our gems in there for the increased level. Alpha Hal, Replica Dream Feather, what have you, and just a bunch of clusters. Conquer Potency. It's nothing special really. It's usually an aura. It's just built like an aura stacker on a budget, simply put. So how does this perform if we do this thing? How does this perform? Well, let's see. Here's the game. Now again, I haven't played for a couple of weeks, you'll have to excuse me. The Headhunter again is not mandatory or even needed. I'm using it because I like using Headhunter. I'm one of those plebs, and also it provides us with a lot of stats, and we're kind of starved on stats for the most part. So I like having it. I'm running different gear than the ones in the POB. The ones in the POB are sort of a little bit better for more min-maxing. These are not as good, like these Hand of High Templars I think I got for 5x early on in the league. I'm running a Simplex with like 98 mana, maximum mana. You'd rather replace that by some other good stat, like, you know, I don't know, increased evasion. Is it a prefix or a suffix? Prefix. It doesn't really matter, mana is always prefix. Anyway, so you can get a bit better items. My rings are just, you know, aspect +2, socketed gems, meh. It's mostly, you know, multiplier, increased armor, and cold res. That's what you basically should be aiming for on most of your gear, running a conductivity in ring just for the extra oomph, and just do replica Dream Feathers that I corrupted for the implicits. We have Fortify here and we have Onslaught here. Our flasks, you don't need the Bottle Faith either. Bottle Faith provides you with an incredible amount of damage, but it's really not needed. And all our flasks are basically really cheap to get. This build, usually I farm about 75 to 100 X per day if I go tropical island farming, or I used to a couple weeks ago before I stopped playing. What else? Usually that's what it can do. It can do a lot more if you push in different scenarios, and we're going to try one of those now. We're going to run a tier 16. Let's see, where do I have it? Here. Tier 16 Primordial Pool, 100% Delirious. The reason we're running this is because I've done a lot of testing during this league, and I found out that Primordial Pool is actually the most reliable one for generating a lot of income, basically, if you want to farm for scarabs. Let's see what we get. I mean, honestly, you can run most mods except for Reflect and Regen. Pang. Do I have all these in? I should have all these in. Who cares anyway? Let's grab some scarabs. I don't know, what do we run here? Let's grab an Elder, a Legion's mandatory. Metamorph sucks. Let's get a Harbinger and a, I don't know. These are, let's get a Breach. So basically on Primordial you can get up to 14, 15 rewards if you map out your Sextants and your Alva mission on map device correctly. I've ironed it out so that I can get guaranteed 14 rewards or 15 if you actually super invest into it. Right now I'm just going to run a test with whatever. You can see here that one of the Sextants is not even good. I just don't care. It's just to show you guys, to give you guys a taste of how this build plays and how it works. Again, you'll have to excuse me, I haven't played for a couple days, so if I make any missteps or that or anything like that, don't blame me. Let's go with Nemesis. I usually run Blight for the extra mob count, but whatever. Let's do it. Oh boy, I'm so out of practice. I'm going to be taking this a little bit slow in the beginning because my muscle memory is completely gone. My filter is, I need to change it. Also, where's my smite button? It's on here. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, misclick. Like really, you can even go around without flasks if you want to, and just demolish everything. Oh boy, Shroudwalker. Yeah, so it's just ridiculously easy to play and destroy everything. The damage I have on the current build compared to the BOV is about half, I would say. Where is this guy? Hey yo, stop Shroudwalking, please. Where is he? Senor? Here. Oh, come on, stop it. Look at his HP. I haven't even touched him. Pop. The damage is about half of what the POV shows right now on this character that you're seeing, because I'm experimenting with a bunch of other items. Like the rings and stuff, I swapped those out to see what's going on. Small cluster, whatever. Enter incursion. Additionally, as you can see, the ES on this version is about 3000, and as you can tell, the build is pretty freaking tanky, in spite of the low HP or energy shield. Also, the most annoying thing about these Delirious maps is these hands that come out and grab you. I don't know what the debuff is called. And they slow your attack speed quite significantly, and it's kind of annoying, but, you know, just slam out of it and you should be fine. Oh. Ah, whatever. Okay. Let's try Breach. You drop your Val Lightning Strike, and you just go to town. We have an insane amount of ES on hit. I mean, it's actually not a lot, but because we have such a small ES pool, it just works really, really well. Additionally, Lightning Strike, if you use it properly, it can be both a range skill as well as a melee close range skill. So right now, for example, I'm using it as a long range skill, like this. But if you want, because I'm using close combat for shits and giggles, you can basically just get into someone's face and use take your close combat buff and just basically annihilate them. I mostly use it as a range skill because the damage is so high you don't even care about getting up front or close to the enemy. I mean, the difference is actually pretty big. I mean, you see that difference. the first couple hits were ranged, the two other hits were close. So the damage difference is kind of significant. But, I mean, you can play it just as a range skill if you want to. The biggest problem with Lightning Strike is actually the terrain, because there's quite a lot of terrain that is kind of annoying to the build. So Lightning Strike is sort of not the best, but in this particular setup it is just so damn good because of Smite and Wrath and all the scaling. It's just so damn good. You can replace Lightning Strike with something else, like, I don't know, Ice Crash if you want to, or what have you. It should work just fine. I played, I think, Ice Crash earlier on, just had to swap 1 or 2 auras for something else. And, you know, it's just go in and massacre everything. Because, you know, getting a couple more million damage is not going to change much, really, when you're at this stage. All you care about is basically increasing survivability and, you know, being able to kill shit fast. I mean, you can see me right now, but I'm actually picking my nose while I'm doing this, so it's not even a problem, or a challenge, I should say. I also added Enduring Cry for the extra endurance charge generation if you want it. You don't need it. Again, I was just playing around with a bunch of things before I decided to quit the league. But I would say that this build, price relative to performance, it is hands down the best build in the game in that sense. Because, I mean, your traditional Armour Stacker might need 35 mirrors and, you know, items in order to become imbalanced, you know, Imba OP type shit. You don't need that. You can run with a build like this that you can make work on, I don't know, 200x budget probably, or something like that. And it should be able to carry you throughout the entire game on a even 50x budget. If you want to start farming higher-end content like these tier 16 Delirious maps or what have you, you probably want to invest some more, around 150x budget. You know, it's rather easy to do because most of the items are not super rare. Let's see here. Oh, I'm not hitting him. That was actually range damage. If we wanted to go fast, actually, we have... shit, I should have showed you guys earlier. I also have Val Haste here, and Val Haste just makes this build flat out broken. I also have Val Discipline in case we get into a shit pickle, which we never do, but just in case. And right now, even with these kind of meh sextants and, you know, me missing a couple league mechanics back there, you can see I'm up to 11 rewards. If we run this map clear, you could probably get 12, 13. You could do 14 if you do it properly. And you can get 15 if you invest a little bit more into the maps. So, okay, let's look with Val Lightning Strike. Just, you cruise through everything. We're not using Explodey, by the way, which is something I wanted to incorporate into the build, actually. I thought about maybe running an Explodey chest instead of Perfect Form and, you know, reduce our damage by quite a bit because Perfect Form increases our evasion and what have you. Sure, the clear is nicer and you get the pops and the visuals and all that, but really it's not needed at all if you do it like this. Sirius, for example, is a couple hits. He just flat out dies. So, yeah. I'll run you through the gear that I have on in just a sec. Let me just finish this here. I'm using the wrong filter too. Notice I'm also not smiting a lot. You should be smiting all the time to get the smite aura. Smite aura is like the biggest damage bonus to this build. It's just so damn good. But again, it's not needed almost because the damage is so high. you can get double this damage, like I mentioned earlier. So, you know, the more you invest into it, the better it's going to get, obviously. And it's not rocket surgery or rocket science at all. So, this is all there is to it. What was the quant on this map? 98. Kind of bad, actually. Anyway, let's look into the gear a little bit. Get away. I'm using an Alpha Howl that I corrupted. The reason it's using a Vitality enchant is because Vitality is actually better than reducing mana reservation on Wrath. Sorry about that. I found it to be a lot better in terms of mana reservation. Also, you know, I double corrupted a bunch of them, got some with +2 auras and sold them for like 50, 60x or what have you. The Tree and Feathers, one with Onslaught, one with Fortify, the Perfect Form, the 2 rings that have basically, this one has ES, Cold Res, and Curse. This one has Armor, Cold Res, and Multi, with Aspect of the Spider crafted on it. The +2 is nice, but you know, not mandatory. Venomous with +2 aura gems. +1 socket gems would also work, probably better at times. The gloves are +1 socketed gems, +2 AoE, and attacks have crit strike chance. You can get +1, +2, +2, plus the attack, but those are like, I don't know, 200x or something. I didn't get one of those because I didn't feel like I needed it. And the Headhunter, it's that simple. In terms of gem setup, in the helmet I have Anger, Wrath, Haste, and Enlighten support. In the body armor for the main skill we have Lightning Strike with close combat, Anomalous Ruthless, Multi-Strike, regular Multi-Strike, Awaken elemental damage on hit, and damage on full life support. You don't need the Awaken gems if you don't want to. You can also use Anomalous Lightning Strike, not Val Lightning Strike. Like the Val skill is nice, but it's not needed or mandatory. You can even use the regular Lightning Strike, honestly. It's not that big of a deal. We're sort of socket starved because we're trying to stack a bunch of auras, so that's why I went with 2 onset rings. Vitality for the ES regen, Purity of Ice for obvious reasons. Empower in here because we have +1 socketed gems, Empower get +1 level. And we have the Smite in here. Smite is now level 27 on this setup. Discipline for the X-Rays and the Anomalous Grace is very important in order for us to get immunity to Ignite, especially Ignite. That's really, really good to have the Anomalous Grace instead of Val Grace. Also, we don't have any slots in here to add the Val Grace anyway, so whatever. In the weapon, we have Anomalous Precision for the mana reservation, Enhanced Support to enhance the quality, and also Divergent Determination to enhance the quality. You can use this build without Divergent Determination. It would work just fine. Divergent Determination is just busted. If you get that, it's just busted. It's so goddamn good. Divergent Arctic Armor because, well, Perfect Form gives us Arctic Armor has 100% reduced mana evasion, extra aura, which means extra fizz reduction, and the Arctic Armor by itself is pretty good for less fizz taken and less fire taken. Additionally, I'm using Enduring Cry because, I mean, I'm not really using it. I'm not even casting the skill, but I have it in case it's needed. And Leap Slam for the whoop, whoop, whoop. That's all there is to it, really. It's just stacking a bunch of mana reservation with... What's your problem, dude? This is range damage, by the way. If we get with close combat really in someone's face... It's all range. Pop. Anyway, you can replace this belt with one that has even more cold resistance, stats, elemental damage with attack skills. There's a bunch of good mods for belts to have. In fact, Headhunter actually lowers our total damage. It's just memeier to run. This is why I'm running it. Flasks are Jade, Stib, Diamond, and Basalt, and the Bottled Faith. In terms of trees, like I showed you earlier, there's nothing special. We're getting our charge generation from here, some mana reservation, and it's a bunch of just regular jewels like Conqueror's Potency, 1% RMR, just simple freaking jewels, and we're stacking stalwarts on as many nodes as we can. The rest are all mono reservation. When I started this build, I actually didn't have 6 passive. I had 4 passive duels, and I only stacked mono reservation ones to get it off the ground. And it worked just fine. It just wasn't able to do the ultra high-end or high-tier content. For that reason, you can just roll with that until you get some currency, and once you have some currency, you can switch to 6 passive duels. By the way, my jewels are, like as you can see here, this is 25% ink effect jewel. It's not an I-84 jewel. I actually, the I-84 jewels are, while they're nice to have, they give you a lot more. It's actually not needed. Like even the 25% ones are more than enough. I was running 25% up until a couple days before I quit because I got bored and wanted to spend some money on some stuff. So I got, most of them are 35 now, I think. Yeah, except for like 1 or 2. Nothing special about any of this. If you need some help, type your question in the comment section of the video, and I'd be more than happy to help you out in any way I can. Did I forget anything? Let's see. I mean, our defenses here without any flasks active or mid-combat or what have you is 750k, and as you saw in the POE, it was 1.1 million, which is just not true. I mean, we're already at 1.5 just by pushing these buttons, and we could max that even more. We can get 2 million armor if we actually wanted to. So that's the build. That's how it works. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. Good luck.